We had the space shuttle Challenger disaster, and Ronald Reagan came on almost immediately telling us we must continue to reach for the stars. We had the Waco siege, and Janet Reno told us that freedom of religion was a dangerous cult. As the dust was still settling on the Oklahoma City bombing, Bill Clinton told us not to blame it on domestic terrorists. There's always an immediate spin and story, but we never seem to quite get to the truth part. Oklahoma City had to do with Waco. Islamic terrorists had to do with surveillance of the domestic population. Luigi Maggioni had to do with the untold story of the dissatisfaction of healthcare in this country, but nobody knew about it. And the helicopter crash with the commercial jet in DC is being blamed now on DEI hires. We've um, we've always been seeing one thing and being told something else. It's a wonder we're not all more crazy than we are. We all have to believe something. 100 years ago, beings from another world were called angels, and now we call them space aliens. And the devil, well, he was the devil. Now we call them illegal immigrants. 100 years ago, people did the right thing out of a moral obligation of church. And now it's compliance issues to state and federal law. We can all dream of what it would be like to be free, but have any of us really experienced it? And probably more important, do any of us want to? Welcome. Welcome to Coffee Hour. Each week on the Conservative Call, we talk about stuff like this. What's going on, how it's being presented, and what we can make out of it all. More important, is it constitutional? At the recent presidential inauguration, Amy Klobuchar said, "We are so blessed to have the Constitution because it allows us to keep evolving and changing it through our understanding and interpretation. It's open to interpretation, but whose interpretation is it?" President Trump came out with his assessment of the DC plane crash and blamed it on diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring. Now that's an interpretation. Perhaps it's not the most caring response, but it might be speaking to some truth. In the story of the Bible, there's plenty of uncaring going on and many moral truths. We have a loving God who gives us what we need and what we want. It's a give and take of us shaping what we need and by God relenting and giving people what they want. Telling us we're domestic terrorists, part of a religious cult, and expendable victims of space program might be what we need, but we chafe at it. None of us want to hear it, even if it's true. Experiencing death is an important part of the life experience, but experiencing it in a tragic and violent end is far from ideal. These people need our special prayers, colliding, exploding, and then sliding into the icy waters of the Potomac River. Someone asked me this week if I was a Democrat or Republican. I told them I consider myself a conservative person. At a city planning meeting this week about new sidewalks and streetscape, they asked me, "And what about trees? How do you feel about trees?" I didn't even know it was open for discussion, but they want to cut down all the trees so they can do more things. They told me there are new materials on the market and they really want to use those materials. I like trees and I like the existing materials. Keeping what we have is conservative, and cutting everything down is probably more progressive and part of a new interpretation. But is it really better? Progressivism and probably to an extent conservatism is sometimes about getting rid of something or someone as an important starting point for a new vision. Years ago, I would have immediately been on the telephone calling Blair Kamen, the architecture critic at the Chicago Tribune, to express my outrage. But that cat is out of the bag. We've all been trained and desensitized to keep our moral outrage in check, except for President Trump. And that's basically what we're probably experiencing and listening to now. He's become the spokesperson for moral outrage. There will be an investigation of the DC helicopter crash. President Trump said it takes too long. We need answers now. It's the difference between what we want and what we need. Amy Klobuchar says it's all about interpretation. Someone's apparently in the White House now who's interpreting what we need and want, both at the same time. Oklahoma City bombing was related to Waco. Islamic terrorism was a stepping stone to domestic surveillance. And patronage jobs have simply been rebranded as DEI. And all the outrage? Well, it's suddenly back in style. If you'd like to join us at Conservative Coffee Hour is every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Time on Zoom. I will include my email in the description of this video. I'll be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.